At the time in question, in the 80s, there was a strong desire by two groups of people. There was a war going on, a silent war going on between the East and the West. The Russian Empire was still on, and the United States Empire. These two elephants were at war. Therefore, all the little animals were getting hurt. Now, the vanguard, the revolutionary vanguard of African liberation started when most of these individuals, we told you way back from the 70s, the late 60s, where it was a desire to remove all these neo-colonialist government. Most of these neo-colonial leaders who had come from colonial time, who had mortgaged the economies of their country and had political independence minus economic independence. That was the period of neo-colonialism, where all these old leaders, African leaders, were sitting on the helm of their offices. They had become unprogressive. The countries were not moving any forward. All they knew was to cater to their Western masters, be it British, French, or otherwise. And it just happened that at the time, most of Libya was a base for training revolutionary. At that time, the Libyan revolution was on 100%, and that was the most renowned revolutionary leader in Africa. And they were independent financial country with a type of logistics and facilities to train guerrillas, and because they had a strong army themselves. So that was the desire, the African desire, for all African countries with their revolutionary groups to go in for training. Most of the training was free and designed to make sure that the neo-colonialist governments of Africa were removed. It only happened in Liberia earlier because Liberia was a ripe situation. The United States and other European countries felt that Liberia was ripe. It was the right time to remove Samuel Doe, and they had to identify someone of prominence who would do it. That's when they might have identified Taylor as one of those who had a slight disagreement with Samuel Doe already, and who had the potential to galvanize the type of charisma and strength that was needed to stage a revolution. I mean, in the event, what if Taylor had died in the process? He would have been a sacrifice, and maybe history would have recorded him as a Liberian revolutionary who tried to relieve the people from the hands of a tyrant. But as the case went, the revolution grew completely out of hand, and people were doing their own thing. He himself, at a certain time, was at very serious risk. Several attempts were made to have him killed or to overthrow him. It was done by, there was a time that they manufactured some cigars in France. A French-made 35-pound bomb that was in his cigars, and as he tried to open it, he saw the cord in the cigar. It was a bomb, a 35-pound bomb in a pack of cigars that was delivered to him by some French.
Excuse me, was that Doe, please, or Taylor?
Taylor himself. And the bomb was demolished, in a pit. I witnessed that demolition myself in Banga, right outside of the executive mansion ground. But there were several attempts on his life. As you know, he was ambushed several times by his own people. And so it was not smooth sailing for him. It was not, he had the power, he liked it, but at the same time, it was very risky. He had to be on a bulletproof vests and jackets and bulletproof hats all day for months and months, because it was a risky thing that he was doing. But it was all done in the interest of Liberia and to make sure that he liberated Liberia from the hands of the tyrants. The murder of all these people in Nimba County, the murder of various citizens and all that were also catalysts that opened up the wound. And Liberia was just ripe as a base now for the African, to start up a revolution, because Samuel Doe had become unpopular, and Liberians were geared up to make sure that the government was removed, because every sector of the country had been affected by the tyrannic regime. So it was ripe for Taylor to move in. And he was advised by his principals at the time. They were, as you know, the principals at the time that wanted him to move in and supported him were not Liberians. They were all foreign groups, particularly the Americans and the French and other people wanted him out, because Houphouët Boigny had a beef with Samuel Doe, as you know, the president of Ivory Coast, when his son-in-law, Abi Tobo, President Toba's son was arrested, or he was at the French embassy. Houphouët Boigny had asked Doe to release him to him, and finally Ebi Toba and Vanny Dempster were forcibly murdered in the French embassy compound. So you know that the French government had a beef with Samuel Doe for entering their embassy compound and murdering someone in there by force. There were so many people that had beef with him, and so it was right for Taylor to move in with the revolution, a popular revolution, and proceed with the activity.